It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. They're learning how to shoot and learning how to light, learning how to mic and edit right. These are TCTV's finest in training, doing their best with focusing and framing. It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. You're watching TCTV. It's the Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. They will get better.
Hello, my name is Dan Bennett, and this is the TCTV Training Show. Yeah. Okay, on today's show, you'll be seeing 4 different projects by our students that have taken the classes and put together 3-minute little projects that they've done. And just so that you know, these folks have spent a lot of time and effort doing something they've never done before, and they have no experience doing, and so there's going to be a few little glitches here and there. And part of the reason we do this show is so that you, the viewer, can watch the process, but mostly it gives them an opportunity to do a short little piece, something that they can stay focused on and something that won't take them forever to edit. And so what we do is we'll take a look at them, and then I'll make suggestions on what they could try and do to perhaps improve on the next project that they do. And so why don't we start with the first one, and we'll take a look at it, and then we'll talk about it as soon as it's done.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks. You caught me reading again. Sitting here, I'm here to tell you about driver safety. Now this is more important than anything. More important than global warming or the interweb. This is driver safety here in Thurston County, and I am here to tell you about it. Have you ever driven through a roundabout? Do you, the viewer, know what a roundabout is? Do you know when it was incepted? Well, me? I don't know either. That's why I have this book. So let's read about the roundabout. It is an intersection control device with traffic circulating around an island. Approaching vehicles must yield to the traffic in the circle. Always yield to pedestrians and bicyclists who are legally crossing the road. Inside the circle, always drive around the circle to the right. Now once you get in one, you must slow down. 15 to 20 miles per hour maximum. Yes. Enter the roundabout when there's a gap in traffic. Not before, not after. When there is a gap, you'll know the time. Once inside, do not stop. Follow directions on signs or pavement markings about which lane to use. You may exit any street or continue around if you miss your exit. If you keep going around, don't worry. You might run out of gas and you'll just stop and have to exit the roundabout anyway. Before we carry on, I'd like to get a sip of my brandy here, and I'd like to continue with my stories. I'm enjoying this. Are you? Please, just bear with me and we'll get right back into it. That's some strong brandy. Oh yes. Now, do you folks know about traffic signs? There's one in the shape of an octagon that is red and white. Can you guess what it is? A stop sign, yes. Yes, thank you. Yes. These are meant for people to stop. Yes, that's all the sign actually says on it is stop. Because when you get to it, apply the brakes gently, come to a complete stop. Not like those crazy California stops where you just roll right through. you roll right through. Because I was in California once. The smog there and the traffic, you wouldn't believe. Nothing like our fair county here in Thurston. Oh, that takes me back, California. Yeah. Rambunctious kids there. Parallel parking. Does anybody know about this? When you're in downtown Olympia, it definitely comes in handy because, you know, when you got your big SUV or you got your little Honda, your little rice burner, whatever your choice, you need to learn how to parallel park that baby. When you parallel park, park within 12 inches of the curb. Here are the steps to parallel parking. Stop even with the car ahead. Turn the wheel sharp right and back slowly toward the car behind. When clear of the car ahead, turn the wheel sharp left and back slowly to the car behind. We're getting close here. Turn the wheel sharp right and pull toward the curb in the center of the parking space. Mwah. Oh, that is a beautiful parking job. Why, thank you. Yes. No parking zones. There's some places you just shouldn't park. Like on an animal, people if they're standing there. But usually, when they have a no parking sign, you really should not park there. Your car will be towed. Sometimes in an intersection, on a crosswalk or a sidewalk. In a construction area, if your vehicle will block traffic, within 30 feet of a traffic signal, a stop sign, which we mentioned earlier, or yield sign, which we will get to shortly. It's a little confusing. It's kind of like stopping, but, well, we'll get to it. Or within 15 feet of a fire hydrant. Oh, you know those firemen, they need to get right to that water. Speaking of liquid. Yes. Yes. As I thumb through this, I often brings me back to my days as an author. Yes, I once wrote books such as this. Not so much helpful or anything, but more just inane and kind of boring is what I was told, but I thought it was hilarious. It's about this little boy. And, well, you know, folks, I'll save that for another episode because, well, there's just too much to cover. Too much in this large county of ours. But always remember, drive safely. And if you're driving, definitely don't drink. Save that for home.
Okay, so I like this particular one. Of the many different 3-minute projects that I've seen, the best videos have just a little bit of room at the top of your head. The idea is that you want to be looking at the subject more than the background behind them, unless the background is really important. Another small suggestion that we could add to this particular project is the use of freeze frames. Sometimes it's very helpful if you're referring to another subject is to have a short little frame from time to time. Not only does it keep the viewer's interest up, but it also makes a stronger connection to what the person is talking about. Yes, this is my computer going to sleep.
TCTV Training Show.
Now, another little item that we could suggest for future improvements of this particular show and others, when you have a subject that is just sitting there and discussing a thing, when he's referring to other items, other places, other things, other activities, other events, it is often a useful tool to have freeze frames that refer to these other things. Now, this particular one had 2 or 3 different freeze frames, but they didn't last very long and there wasn't enough of them. It's really helpful for the viewer to have something different to look at. Even though our actor here is very amusing and he's fun to listen to, it helps break up the process. It helps keep things moving along. And so they could have used just a few more freeze frames whenever we referred to different stuff. And what that means is that you have to take some time to think about what you want to film aside from the main subject, from the main actor. You're going to have to take your camera out and you're going to have to film these things that he's referring to. If you have a list of things that you want your subject to cover, you can film them in advance. And so when you go to edit your stuff together, you can put them all together and you don't need to go out and get what we call B-rolls, which is secondary footage that you've taken after the fact, because it's like, oh yeah, I need to get a shot of this. So that's also very helpful.
Training Show!
There's a couple of the things that we want to discuss is the lighting. Lighting is very important. Now here, I have a light source up over here. I have a light source back behind me. I have a light source over here. And I have one giving the background a nice little bit of shading. And this is called 3-point lighting. You can have more than this. But the idea is that you don't want to have one side of your face all brightly lit and the other in shadow unless, you know, it's Halloween or something. The final thing is this person was being filmed in a home. And you can see there's the kitchen back there. They're in a home. And so you have to take care to think about what kind of audio you want to use. If you use the camera's audio, you're going to get echo. Okay? Because the house has these bare walls, and not all of them are bare, of course, but they're going to carry sound and they're going to bounce the sound a little bit. And so the audio is going to sound a little hollow. So, this particular film is very, very enjoyable, and I enjoyed seeing it, and I've watched it several times, and I still haven't gotten tired of it. And so as far as projects, this is yeah, one of the better ones. Okay.
More people than ever in Thurston County are buying food that's grown right here. With the high cost of gasoline and an increasing awareness of the transportation costs associated with worldwide shipping, it just makes sense. Furthermore, it's easy. You can get anything from alpacas to worm castings. Take a look at this list from the Fertile Ground website. That's a huge list. So today, I'm looking at just one small part of the local farming economy. It's called Community Supported Agriculture, or CSAs. CSAs work on the principle of shares. A farm sells shares in the upcoming crop to individuals, and it agrees to provide them with part of the harvest throughout the year. Most delivered to a convenient pickup point near the homes of the shareholders. The deliveries are usually once per week. You go to the pickup site and you take home your share. So give it a try. Find out a little bit more. The Fertile Ground website lists 15 CSAs in our county. If you're interested in good, locally grown food and you like the idea of supporting local farmers, then CSAs are the ticket. Check out this website and call some of the farms that look interesting to you.
What I liked about this one is that the music was eventful and it was happening. It was good, energetic music, and the music would drop, and then he would do a nice voiceover, and then he'd be done, and then the music would come back, and it was a very gentle flow of music that would drop, and he would do his talking, and he would say his stuff, and then it would come back, and it lasted throughout the whole thing, and it worked out really nicely. And aside from a little sound glitch in the middle that you probably noticed, it was really, really well done. It was nice and short. One of the difficult things is when you are doing camera work and you've got a very, very busy environment to look at, and you do a close-up and you do this long pan, it can be very, very difficult on people's stomachs. Meaning that they're watching this stuff move, and it's very, very difficult to look at for any length of time. And so if you're going to be doing a pan, as it's called, because you're panning across, the first pan that's very slow and it looks across one particular farm, it's really well done, it looks nice, it's a good shot. There's a second pan where it's close up and he's moving along the vegetation, and that can be difficult. We always recommend stay back a little bit and do an angle and get the sort of thing where that if someone is sitting up close to their TV, they're not going to get motion sickness. Well, at least that's the idea. And so you want to be thinking about that when you're doing your footage. When you're doing a pan, it's really important to loosen up the controls on the top of your tripod. So that when you pan, you can get it really smooth. If you have the little knobs too tight, you get this herky-jerky kind of thing. And even though you're trying to be smooth, it grips in odd places. So it gets a little bit difficult. And we get used to professional television where there's this smooth pan. Well, they get to use computers that do it automatically, and you get this beautifully, utterly inhuman, smooth pan. And well, we're humans and we can't afford that sort of equipment. So you just have to loosen your stuff and do a little bit of practice first.
Hello everyone, we are at Olympia Farmers Market right now. It's the end of summer. Let's go in and see what is going on in there. Most people have a hard time to fitting 5 servings of vegetable and fruit into their diet. Farmers Market actually is a good place to shop for your vegetable and fruit. Let's see what we can buy over here, and let's go shopping. Here's some different kind of chili peppers. I think they go very well in the sandwiches and also Mexican kind of cuisine as well too. Especially like this kind of red pepper, you have a lot of good vitamins in over there, and also very beautiful color in all different kinds of dishes. Something with little kick, so we'll go to the hot pepper section. Let's try some red hot cherries. So what are you looking for in this bean?
I'm looking for something here that has no blemishes, no marks, and I want apples that are, they're a new crop of apples.
Right, new crop. And did you especially like this Gala apples?
The Gala apples, yes.
Yeah, what, anything particular for this apple that you like?
Yes, they're sweet, they're easy eating apples, and I understand you can use them in cooking too.
Right.
Okay, this particular project is by Linda Wang Stewart, And it was a fairly comprehensive effort, and it required a good deal of work. And this one was a little bit more difficult just due to the very nature of what she wanted to shoot and what she wanted to cover and talk about. And you'll notice that this one is a little bit different than the others. It's a lot more complex.
Training Show!
This one, the camera person with Linda was taking shots of different fruits and vegetables. They were zooming in and out. They were going from place to place to place, and there were transitions. Yes, that's right, transitions. Transitions are what you use to join two different subjects together. You want to blend the two different shots, and you can use any number of different transitions. The most common is called the cross dissolve, and it basically fades from one to another, and it's a soft and gentle means of transiting from one scene to another. Well, Linda used several different kinds of transitions, and although it's a lot of fun doing this and it can be very cheesy, and believe me, I know about cheesy. I've done lots and lots of different transitions for lots of fun projects. Because this is kind of serious, you want to be consistent with your transitions. If you're going to do the star wipe, and that's the that's the scene where a star shape comes out and you go and there's one scene in one and the other scene goes away, and you just go from one using a star wipe, and they're very, very cheesy. But if you're going to use that, you need to be consistent and use that the whole time. Granted, your audience might not take your work as seriously, but still it's important to be consistent. Something else is that either they forgot or they more likely ran out of time in their editing to get all the wipes they want in. So in this particular one, in the very first scene, she was this little tiny person, and there's this great big sign of the farmer's market. And it's a good shot, you get her in the scene, but it's difficult to do because it is an enormous amount of headroom. So what we would do is that we would have her, and then you do a cutaway to a sign of the farmer's market. And it would end up accomplishing the same thing, but you wouldn't have to have all that headroom. Something else that you need to keep in mind is that when you're in a public place, you can have a camera in a public place. People don't necessarily have a reasonable expectation to privacy because they're in a public place. What is very helpful, though, is to get people's permission. If you're going to be shooting a thing, what you can do is take a minute or two or three and talk to the person and saying, listen, I'm doing a thing about the farmer's market and I would like to do a brief little interview. Would that be okay? Most of the vendors would be more than happy to advertise their wares. And although we don't do advertising on TCTV, there's nothing wrong with showing a vendor's wares and look, see, here's what they're selling and this sort of thing, because there's many of them.
TCTV Training Show!
She did a very good work and we're very proud of her. But because her subject was so complex and there was a lot to do and a lot to plan, it would be difficult even for an experienced videographer to come off with a perfect project. So.
Hi, I'm Erin, and we are here at the Alexander Berkman Collective on the front porch, where many of us like to eat our breakfast. We're overlooking our lovely weed patch, which is one of my favorite places in the house because I'm a gardener and the potential is just screaming out to me.
Alexander Berkman was one of Emma Goldman's lovers back at the turn of the century, the last century. And he's probably most noted for a lot of his writings. He was an anarchist.
There are several things that I see as different. One is that, and the main and most obvious, is that we all pay an equal share towards living here.
We think of this house not just as we're renting here. There is no landlord. We are the landlord. So in a lot of places that you might be renting, you know, if the roof is caving in, you call the landlord. If the roof is caving in here, we are the landlord. So we've got to take care of it. But it's not like owning a house either, because we're all of stepping away from capitalism and owning property.
Living together in a household, you can create any mindset you want. There's not, it's not that you can't create this other places, but here it's intentionally thinking of ourselves as all working together to create something bigger than one of us alone could create. And in that, we are trying to create something that also leaves, in a sense, a legacy, because you leave behind something that someone else can build upon and live in. So any of the work that we do in this house, because we are actually officially owners, the collective is an owner, the Black Walnut Collective is, and you can join the Black Walnut Collective if you live here for a year. Called the Black Walnut Collective because there is an enormous black walnut tree in the backyard. It's gorgeous. It's estimated to be between 150 and 200 years old, so older than Olympia itself, and it's just such a core of this house. Like, you go in the backyard and you can't help being inspired by the black walnut tree, in my opinion.
I actually like that I've got housemates that aren't just your typical housemates that are impassioned to add things to the house and maintain the house.
You can look around and see the history through the weird paint colors and the layers of wallpaper, and you know, the way the garden's set up and the perennials that are there and what's been forgotten and what's refound and all of this. It's we're all working together to create something that lasts, and that others that come after us and are also looking for a home with the same kind of intention behind it can find it, and our history will help provide that.
Okay. This final one was done by Brittany Larson, and this was a very, very interesting project that she did. And the first noticeable thing is that it has a title that's right in the middle of the screen. It's a good title and it works, but it's right in the middle of the screen, and it blocks the central subject that walks down the stairs. And that's a really nice entrance, and it's a really nice opening for the project, but the words are in the way, and you want to be able to see both without them interacting or interfering with each other per se. The subject was good, the description was good, and it went in a nice fashion. You went basically from the front of the house to the back of the house, and it evolved in a very, very nice way. We want to thank you, and we'll see you later.
It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. They're learning how to shoot and learning how to light, learning how to mic and edit right. These are TCTV's finest in training, doing their best with focusing and framing. It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. You're watching TCTV. It's the training show. The TCTV Training Show. They will get better.